All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Seattle Seahawks in tonight's video. I I love Jalen Milroe. I really do. I think, we've been comparing him to Jalen Hurts since right before he got drafted on this channel, and I truly feel like he is a miniature Jalen Hurts, but neither here nor there. Sam Darnold's going to be the starter, rightfully so, this upcoming season. And, whether we're talking about Darnold or, Jalen Milroe, especially Jalen, because he is getting a lot of hype right now in OTAs, and people are like, it's just OTAs. But then that translates into, oh, well, it's just preseason. And then that eventually becomes, well, it's just week one. And then that becomes, well, it's just the regular season. And it's exhausting. OTA hypes, I'm there for it. I don't really care. But I do want to talk more grand scheme about Seattle because people are really freaking out about their offensive line. Now, the way I see it is they've got some real coaches on that O-line now. They've got a good O-line coach. They've got a good head coach. They've got a good offensive coordinator. And I think this season is very important for Clint Kubiak because, like last year in New Orleans, right? They won their first two games from like an NFL record standpoint. It was crazy. And then the injuries started to come. And it feels like every member of the New Orleans Saints offense last year was injured. But if you go back to his 2021 Minnesota offensive coordinator year, I think they went like 8-9. I actually can pull it up very quickly. I don't know if they had changed it to 17 games. They did change it to 17 games. So it was an 8-9 year for Minnesota. But here's the thing. Dalvin Cook ran for over 1,100 yards. Captain Kirk Cousins made a Pro Bowl thrown for 33 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions. And I think Sam Darnold and Jalen Milroe are both perfect in a Clint Kubiak system. But what has me so excited is this running back room. You've got a bunch of studs, whether it's Zach Charbonnet, Ken Walker, brand new rookie Damian Martinez. The running back room is really good, and that's what Clint Kubiak's going to dial in this upcoming season. I'll just say this, and we could summarize like this whole 8-minute video in this sentence. If Sam Darnold is protected next season, the Seattle Seahawks will win 10 games. That's the way I see it. So the whole joke last year before the season began for Sam was, the whole meme back in his, I think it was the Jets era, where he was seeing ghosts. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that clip. There's a clip early on in Sam Darnold's career where he's throwing interceptions and there's literally mic'd up footage of him saying, I'm seeing ghosts out there. So people, skeptics last year, all season, literally all season, were waiting for him to start seeing these ghosts. Well, he kind of, I wouldn't say started seeing the ghosts in the final 2 games of the regular season and then the wild card loss in the playoffs, but I will just say he was not protected adequately enough. And the reason he was not protected adequately enough was because the Minnesota Vikings interior offensive line was not doing their job. So that would be a concern you could have logically with Seattle, because you look at the interior offensive line and it's like, all right, Gray Zabel, in my opinion, is a star. At minimum, he is a star offensive lineman in the NFL. He can play all 5 positions, but this year you're going to see him rotate between, guard and center at most. But it looks like he's going to be the starting left guard next season. Center Olu, we'll get to him in just a second. I'm very big on. The right guard position finally has competition, which I'm really excited about. I think, Christian Haynes might come away with that. And then now we can start getting into the nitty gritty. All right, because Mike McDonald handpicked Clint Kubiak. We say this all the time on the Seahawks videos. I don't mean to rag on you guys last year, but the coaching staff was a nightmare. What was it? McDonald was like the 8th out of 9th coach hired in that coaching cycle. So his pick of offensive coordinators was bare minimum. And he went with a college guy and it just didn't translate. And Ryan Grubb just didn't call plays properly. And I get it. Maybe Geno wasn't always protected. The offensive line wasn't, having gaps open for the running backs to do it. But the reasoning, in my opinion, is you'd watch a Seahawks game and they would do a throw on first down. They would do a throw on second down. And then it would be like 3rd and 6 and they'd run it. And it'd be like, okay, maybe if we flip that, we can get something there. So they're going to lean into the run game. If there's one thing, this is very clear, no matter who's the starting quarterback. Once again, it's obviously Sam Darnold, but I think Jalen Milroe is the Seattle Seahawks future. I do just want to hype you guys up there because I think, like I said, there's some Jalen Hurts there, but the Clint Kubiak hiring signaled this team's going to lean heavy into the running game. Now, that was a big question mark at the end of last year, because it's like, why was this team not running the ball well? But once again, we have to look into the offensive line. And Seattle really struggled up front, specifically in pass protection. It was like the biggest issue why you guys probably didn't make the playoffs. 26th in PFF pass blocking grade last year. Lost 6 of the 10 games in which they earned a sub 66 PFF passing block grade. So left tackle Charles Cross, hopefully, we can get a whole full season of health from Charles Cross because he is a very good left tackle. Gray Zabel, like I said, I think he's going to be a star. I don't want to start declaring guards possible superstars, but I did say it. All right. So let's focus on the offensive line. Seattle starter at the last year at right guard was 2023 fourth round pick Anthony Bradford. All right. He beat out last year's rookie in the third round, Christian Haynes. Okay. Now that kind of turned into an in-season battle, but they had to rip the cord from that because Bradford suffered an injury in week 11. So then you had Satoa Laumea for the rest of the season. Now, Anthony Bradford did not have a good sophomore campaign, all right? He allowed 7 sacks, committed a team-high 9 penalties, and also surrendered a pressure rate of 7.8%, which was the 6th highest amongst qualifying guards. But once again, I can't emphasize this enough. There's finally some coaches in that group. All right. So the thought here is obviously Seattle's new coaching staff, because it's highly advertised, can develop all these young, second year, even your first year guy, first and second year and even third year guys like Olu or Anthony Bradford as well. But keep in mind, for most of these guys, just using Anthony Bradford as an example, he's on his 3rd offensive coordinator and 3rd O-line coach in as many seasons. So just like the most of the Seahawks roster on the offensive line, it's just not great. And Laumea had some very good moments. He only had 6 total starts, but he also allowed the highest pressure rate amongst qualifying guards at 11%. Haynes was better statistically, but it was a much smaller sample. Now with the center position, so they're going to battle it out, and I don't think we'll know who the starting right guard is, if I had to take a guess, until probably week 1 of the regular season. All right, right before week 1, we'll probably know who the starting right. You'll start to have a feel in preseason, especially once preseason wraps up and his training camp comes here in a couple of months. You'll start to get a feel for who's getting first team reps, et cetera, et cetera. But then with the center position, I don't know if anybody's been watching these Seahawks videos for the last 3 years. When you guys drafted Olu in the 5th round in 2023 out of Michigan, he didn't allow a sack in his last year at Michigan. I was very big on him, but he only had 1 total start as a rookie. And then he only had 8 last year because Connor Williams midseason retirement. All right. But in that small sample size, Olu did not surrender any sacks and allowed a league average pressure rate. Of course, it is cropped out. I do not have that written down. But the point is, here's how I feel. I don't care about the wide receivers or the quarterback position or the running back room and the tight end room, because all that's good. All right. It's all going to come down to the offensive line. And because of Clint Kubiak, I feel good about that. All right. So I think Seattle's winning 10 next season. That's it from me. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. I know this was kind of, deeper analytical video. We don't do too many of these, but it's what I had. So thank you for watching. Peace.